Hello everyone, welcome to episode 58 of FPL BlackBox. We are recording this just after the Manchester United Brentford game, so congratulations to all the Bruno Fernandes owners and captainers, and commiserations to all the Bruno Fernandes non-owners.
Wow.
And I'm joined by one of them right now. How are you, Mark?
What a swing. What unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, good evening, Az. Pleasure to be here as always. I don't know, tough game week for non-Bruno owners. Congrats on the pick. Obviously there was people out there who captained him as well. Were you expecting it? Was it luck? Was it skill? We've got to talk about this, haven't we? Come on, let's hit this first. How are you feeling about it, first of all? Do you count yourself lucky, or are you patting yourself on the back for a piece of skill?
I feel weird. I mean, normally, you like to bring in a player who you look at the stats and you look at the members area and you see all the on Scout and you see all these things, all the signs point to them. I did that. Nothing pointed to a Bruno Fernandes haul.
No, and I can show you more data tonight that just underlines that.
Just nothing. And Emi Martinez throws the ball into the net for his first goal. I mean, it's to me, I had the money to move Son up, all the postponements. I was going to get a Leicester player, then I was going to get a Spurs player. Fernandes was right down the bottom of the list. So yeah, I can't claim much more than good fortune.
Did he get a double figure return tonight? What's the bonus looking like? He got 2 assists, right? He didn't get the clean sheet point, did he? So he's on 10, isn't he?
He's on he's on 10.
So he's got 2 double figure returns back to back, having only had 1 double figure return all season, and that was the hat-trick on the opening day. So when it comes to the double game week, and it comes to people who have money because they had Son injured, they get Bruno, and he gets 2 double figure returns back to back.
He'd scored 1 goal since game week 4.
It's great. I mean, this is what we mean when we talk about variance. First of all, I've got to say, there is some skill in it, because you obviously identified Bruno as a player to go for. Having said that, we'd obviously spent two of these episodes looking at the options in midfield, and they weren't exactly, there weren't many. Maddison, Moore, Mount. I went for Mount in the end. I was going to go Moore. Obviously, the postponements got in the way of some of those options too. Certainly Moore and Maddison. And I couldn't afford Bruno, right? Even with the free hit, I looked at it and went, to get Bruno, I can't have Ronaldo, so I won't be able to go Bruno. So it's a question of a bit of skill in going, I think Bruno's a good option, and the opportunity to be able to do it because you had money, right?
Yeah.
Whereas others wouldn't have done.
I think the only thing I'll say in my defence was that I deliberately didn't get Mount or Mora or someone because I looked at the fixtures, I planned ahead, and I wanted to have a way of getting Salah back early. Yeah. So that's the kind of, I don't know if it's skill, but there's some element of planning to it. It wasn't just like a complete hit and hope. There was a kind of a reason for it, but obviously I wasn't expecting what happened.
Yeah, I mean, there was he's great as a placeholder. I mean, my team just wasn't set up to consider him. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get to him in one move, or even 2 really, unless I sold Antonio Ronaldo or did something silly. So it was never really an option for me. So I can't. At least I can take. It's not like that's a player that I looked at and went, no. Would I have done it if I had the money? Probably, because I ended up going Mount, and I didn't really want to do that. I just went for that because I had to get rid of Son. I felt like I had to get rid of Son and get a ticket in the double game week lottery. And Mount was obviously very disappointing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for those who captained Bruno as well, astonishing returns, isn't it? I mean, just out of nowhere. I mean, he played well at Villa. And I guess Ronaldo's absence again was another factor in that. Do you think that?
Yeah, I mean, the second goal was more of a trademark burst into the box that we'd kind of seen him do and haven't seen him do when Ronaldo's in the side. So I think it probably helped him. I mean, Rangnick said Ronaldo was fit. That was the
don't have to tell me that. I know full well. I know.
Yeah, that was the problem for a lot of people, was that they didn't really consider Fernandes because they thought they had the United coverage with Ronaldo. So it was just a weird game week. And you look at all the other double game week options, and no one. I mean, Steven Bergwijn was probably the other one that.
No, I mean we didn't even discuss him, did we?
Why would you? First 2 goals all season, scored in the 95th and 97th minute or something.
I mean, Kane looked good tonight. I thought Kane delivered for those on a free hit. And we will look at the effectiveness of the free hit a bit later on. It was actually a bit more effective than I thought it was. I haven't got the very latest data from Ragaboli, but I got some just 5 minutes after the game concluded, so I think it's fairly recent. Yeah, I mean, it was a funny game week, and Bruno really epitomised that, didn't he? That return. I mean, it was a real kind of harking back to what we expected from him last season when he was, and previous season when he was right up there with Salah as a prize asset. So it's nice. It was kind of like a flashback. Not so nice for those who are up against rivals like you who've got him. And, yeah. I tell you what, I'm only pleased De Gea lost his clean sheet because it was awful for me. I did that last-minute deadline stream with Gianni and Ed, which was a bit of a riot, bit of a chaotic thing.
Loved it.
If you saw that. Yeah, I enjoyed doing it. But I wasn't... My head was all over the place. Ed was doing his free hit live on the show. I did my transfers live on the show. And afterwards, as soon as the deadline had passed, I was like, why didn't I go De Gea? I should have done. And then, of course, Gaeta didn't turn up, and I thought he would do.
No.
So I had no keeper. So for a 4-point hit, I could have got De Gea. And it looked like tonight he was heading for a 15-pointer, but he didn't get it. He ended up with 8. So I only lost 4 points on that. So it's not disastrous. Had that come, had he got a 15, I don't think I'd have turned up tonight. I think I'd have sulked. I think I'd have just sulked and gone, basically.
You're on the edge anyway, weren't you?
I was on the edge, yeah. So, yeah, you've got to cheer me up for sure. But, yeah, it was it was a really tough game week, wasn't it, for those who didn't have Bruno. But anyway, what else are we going to talk about tonight? I think we're going to touch on Villa as well, aren't we, tonight?
Yeah, I've been. You've been giving me a bit more free reign to delve into some stats, which is very generous of you. So I've been looking into Villa, and yes, I've been looking at the difference between Villa under Gerrard and Dean Smith, and it's quite interesting. A lot of things I expected to see, I didn't, and yeah, hopefully there'll be a bit of new information for people and some players to consider.
Yeah, I mean Villa are key because they've got good single game week fixtures anyway, but they could be party to a game week 23 double, which could break on Thursday. So when you're listening to this, it might have already broken, or it could be last minute Friday before deadline.
I want to ask you about that.
Yeah, go on.
What happens if it breaks after the deadline?
Then that match will have to be in the following game week. They will not include a fixture in the game week that is announced after the deadline. They won't.
So they would move the deadline?
They'd have to move the deadline.
Can they do that?
Well, they've never done it before, but I'm absolutely certain they will not drop a fixture in if it's not announced prior to deadline.
Okay.
Absolutely certain.
That's big news.
Yeah. So it will come. It'll either come tomorrow, Thursday, or just to timestamp this is 10:15 on the Wednesday night, or it will come Friday. I think it will come tomorrow. So we think that Villa will have a double game. We'll talk about that in a minute. Postponements again though were a factor. So we're going to talk about. We don't want to dwell on COVID, but we've got to talk about these postponements and what it means. And there's suggestions today there could be a rule change coming up. We're going to dive into that as well. But Spurs v Arsenal, Burnley v Watford off. I mean, how did you take that news? Did you just roll with it, or?
Well, I was a bit worried because I had King vice captain, so I thought if Ronaldo didn't turn up, I'd be getting 2 points. I think we all kind of expected it, didn't we? Given Burnley, given the problems they've had and selling wood, and when they get a game cancelled, then there's another one a couple of days later. There's no chance. I mean, the Arsenal game has got to be massively in doubt at the weekend, given that Arsenal have been selling players and didn't play against Spurs, and Burnley have got the same problems. So we just know what happens with that.
Well, I mean, Arsenal are due to play tomorrow night, right, in the EFL Cup, so surely they can't call off the league game if they play tomorrow night. And Arteta wasn't suggesting that they were short. So it's going to depend on Burnley, that one, isn't it? Solely. I mean, how many more? We're going to look at the postponements and how they're racking up. Burnley can't have another one, surely. I mean, they'll have. Oh, it's crazy.
They're surely making life hard for themselves, later down the line as well. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem very like. I thought Deitch would just be like, belts and braces. Let's just get on with it and stick some academy kids in and hope for the best. But clearly not. As
we see, I think the Arsenal situation in this postponement this week and the Burnley ones were very different. We've got a table that kind of tracks the players available to be selected, and the Burnley Arsenal situation was very, very different. We'll show that later on, thanks to a table from an old friend of mine. Rafa's gone. Any reaction to that?
Rafa's gone. Quickly, about time. I thought he was. I was surprised. I didn't think he'd do well, but I was surprised at how badly he did. Well, that's exactly it. He was just completely the wrong choice.
Yeah,
and Everton will likely be a better team without him.
So under Big Dunk, will you be looking straight away? I mean, Everton have got decent fixtures short term, or are you just going to give it
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd say that. Yeah,
Absolutely not.
I think that's your general consensus. We can't expect a
Sell
miracle
the best
recovery.
player, and then a couple of days later sell them.
Well, I don't know about that. Is Dina their best player? I mean, people are speculating that if Rafa had gone earlier, Dina might still be there. But
I think he's their best player.
Do you?
Well, not anymore.
Calvert-Lewin.
He's a French international superstar.
Yeah, he's certainly probably their highest status player in terms of world quality. I would say most renowned.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. Dina's a player we're going to look at tonight when we look at Villa. Okay, reluctantly, let's look at your game week then. No doubt you'll want to dwell on this quite a lot. This is as up to date as I can get. I think these bonus points are correct. You have hauled 78 points tonight. Wow.
Yeah, just feel a bit bad at this point.
Yeah, well, you should do. You should do. Read through it for the podcast listener.
De Gea in goal with 8, Trent with 10, Cancelo with 11, Ethan Pinnock with 2. I don't know what he's doing in there, but there he is. Foden with 3. Bruno Fernandes came in for 24 points. This is a ridiculous team. Bowen with 7, Jota with 3. And then Ronaldo with 4, Antonio with 4, and King with 2.
The forwards again. Look at the bloody forwards again. It's ridiculous,
shocking.
Isn't it? Really
Absolutely shocking. Yeah, and the defender's doing well. 10 and 11 for Trent and Cancelo. I mean, there's nothing particularly exciting about my team. Just Fernandes did well, and Pinnock's there for some reason. Other than that, it's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you look at it and think a lot of people had Trent and Cancelo are given, right? So really, aside from that, it's all about Bruno, isn't it? I mean, De Gea, I don't have De Gea. That's where I lost out definitely as well. But yeah, I mean, you didn't free hit, so I guess, had you free hit, you might not have had Bowen's points. But I think generally, you would have free hit to a similar scoring team. You would have had Bruno in the free hit, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'd have gone Kane.
Yeah, you're probably going. So you might have actually done better. I mean, the free hit team we showed in the last episode, you certainly would have changed that in light of the Arsenal postponement and the Leicester postponement and so on. So
yeah, I mean, I probably would have taken Cancelo out and played
maybe
Alonso or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm more than happy with how it turned out. I'm not gonna complain.
Well, no, you shouldn't complain, because coming up is my score, 47. Oh, it's dismal by comparison. I'd got the gap down to like a fairly reasonable, like 69, 70 points. Now it's just whoosh, you've gone again.
Back to 100 or something.
Yeah, all right. It's 47. What a tale of woe in goal. What a disaster Gaeta has been. Absolute disaster. I mean, my season can be summed up as 2 disastrous moves. Well, no, a series of disastrous moves. Gaeta's definitely one, and the Chelsea defence is the other, right? Because I've just missed all of the Chelsea defensive points, managed to get on the wrong defenders at the wrong time. Alonso being the very latest and probably the worst case of all, because he's just been absolutely dismal. Watching the games as an Alonso owner is just the most anxious thing ever, because he is dreadful, isn't he? And when you watch a player because you've got him in your team, I'm watching everything Alonso does, and when you watch everything he does, he's bloody awful, isn't he? Let's face it.
He occasionally puts in a great ball, or it's in the penalty area for no reason, and you think, he could get something here. But I mean, I was so excited to see Lamptey versus Alonso, and it just didn't disappoint. He just couldn't get anywhere near him, and honestly, I think he was lucky not to get sent.
Well, it was Alonso against Sterling and against Lamptey. How uncomfortable was that for me? Because he could have got a red in both games. Yeah. And he never really got forward. They played a back four at Brighton, so he didn't really get forward at all. So I had the Alonso flop, Gaeta no-show. I had no Ramsdale because of the postponement. So it was Gaeta 0 points, Trent 10, Marcus on 2, Reguilon just got the 1 today, but at least he turned up. Cancelo 11, everyone's got him. Bowen 7, Mount 2 as the double game punt.
That was a shame, because I would definitely have gone for Mount on a free hit.
Yeah, I didn't expect him not to play against City. I didn't see that one coming. I don't know if he had a niggle, but you think he would turn to him in the big games, but wasn't the case. Jota with the 3, Antonio 4, Ronaldo captain 4, and Dennis, who only had the 1 game 2. So I was kind of struck a bit by the COVID situations and the postponements. But I mean, Mount, looking back, I don't think I'd have gone for anybody else really. I wouldn't have gone Maddison, although he outscored him. I would have gone Mora had they had 2 games, but that wouldn't have got me anything anyway. So it's one of those game weeks where I just, I don't think I could have done much different other than get De Gea in goal, which would have got me 4 more points.
And got you rid of Guaita.
That's
finally.
the thing. That's the thing. It would have got me rid of Guaita, and it would mean that in 25 and 27, I'll have a keeper, because it could be Guaita doesn't get back in because Butland had a man of the match performance at Brighton.
Yeah.
So real problems. He's been an absolute disaster for me. Not going Ramsdale with my wild card and going Guaita instead. What was I thinking?
At least didn't sell someone like Ferran Torres at the start of the season as well.
Shut up. So yeah, 47 points, pretty miserable for me. I want to just put that one to the back of my mind now, move on. Let's look at the Great and the Good League. This isn't up to date after tonight. I don't know how Fabio did, but going into tonight's games, you and Fabio were neck and neck. Fabio was down below me about, a couple of months ago? And I remember saying, I've got good company down there. It's Fabio and it's Yavuz. Yavuz is above me now as well. Fabio, massively above me, right? What's going on?
I mocked him.
Yeah.
Do you remember I got my one mock in. I was like, obviously I'm not going to, I'm going to regret this later, but I got my one little dig in. And then he's just absolutely soared up the rankings. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think he's ahead of me because he captained Fernandes.
Right, so he's top. He's top. Right?
So Fabio is now top. So when I mocked him in like game week 4, or whatever it was, he has now overtaken me, which was very, very predictable.
Well played, Fabio. He's got the pedigree, top of the Hall of Fame, of course. Possibly the best FPL manager in the world, beating Az. Well, what a turn up for the books. But yeah, well played, Fabio. He actually played his free hit last week. He slipped up a bit because he got quite a miserable score of his free hit. And I looked at that and thought, he's fallible after all. Then followed it up with the Bruno Fernandes captaincy just to wipe that memory from his, wipe that immediately from his memory. The table below are the chips played this week. And my thinking was that the free hit hadn't paid off. Looks like it just about has an advantage over no chips. The free hit managers are averaging, this isn't a top 10k, so top 10k only, but a good representation of active managers. The average for the free hit manager, when I grabbed this 20 minutes ago, was 68.4. The average for the no chip manager was 60. So 8 points on average. So some gain for free hitters, right?
It's got to just be Fernandes, right? I would imagine the majority of free hitters went for Fernandes, tripled up on United, given that they were probably they had the best double, didn't they? Really,
I think it was Fernandes, Maddison, and Greenwood.
Yeah,
did well.
And
tonight.
Greenwood, really,
yeah, got the goal tonight, didn't he?
I never considered him even for a second.
No, I think in a free hit you might do, right? Because you're looking for some differentials, and I suppose he was one. He played both games, didn't he? I think he did. So So in the end,
the free hit as well. Played really well. Yeah, it was.
So in the end, the free hit wasn't a disaster. But actually, I look at it and think, I'm glad I didn't play it because I would have hit Bruno, I suppose, but I don't think I'd have necessarily captained him. So I don't think I'd have the mega haul, and I would have probably sold Cancelo. So I don't know if I'd have had that big a gain. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I'm more than happy. I'll take it and run. For you, I mean, you probably would have gone for Bruno and Kane and Maddison, wouldn't you? Probably.
Yeah, but I'm trying not to think about that. Thanks,
that's all right.
But later on in the season, I'm bound to capitalise on its use and get.
I can't wait for you to get like 20 points below the average on your free hit.
Right, let's sum up where we are at the moment. Let's bring up Ben Crellin's incredible chart that he's running week to week and updating for us. So just a reminder, we're going into game week 23. We do think it's a potential double. And as we see by the chart here, and the orange colour on Aston Villa, that's where we think the double will hit. We think Aston Villa will play either Burnley or Leeds in this game week. So Burnley at home, giving them Everton away, and Burnley at home, or they'll get Leeds away, giving them Everton away and Leeds away, and giving Leeds, Newcastle and Villa at home. So what do you think? I mean, surely it's got to be the Burnley one, haven't they? Burnley's backlog is ridiculous.
You'd think so. Just they've got to slot those in wherever they can, right? Because they got so many to get through. I mean, whatever happens, it's a hell of a double game week for Villa. I mean, I'm looking at Dean as my target, but I mean, Watkins is surely the best captain choice if there's a double that goes forward for them. Yeah,
I mean, I think we're going to look at our teams and our transfers later, but I think it's all going to depend on whether the double gets announced, what we do. And as I said, we're going to dive deep into Villa in a moment. Just staying on Ben's chart, just a heads up, of course, we've said this in previous episodes, game week 25 will be a blank. Arsenal and Chelsea won't have a fixture, and obviously there's blanks as well coming up in game week 27, World Club Championship and EFL Cup final behind these blanks. So you need to be prepared for that. Also, interestingly, we talked previously about a potential double for Liverpool in game week 26, and potentially that could be a Salah triple captainship. I noticed recently Ben's kind of moved away from that and just pointed out that he's never really been certain of that. I think he's saying about 30-40% chance. So when we did our chip planning, which is this chart here, we had game week 26 as a possible double game week and triple captain. That might not be on the cards now, so we shouldn't plan with that in mind. I know, disappointing, is it?
I guess we were saying, weren't we, last week, that would just be like 250% EO Salah.
Too easy.
So, yeah, too easy. So maybe that's for the best.
I'm saving the triple captain for when Andy Carroll arrives at Burnley and they have the triple game week.
Woo!
Andy Carroll triple captain.
It's going to happen.
Again.
It's going to happen, isn't it?
No, that would be great. Yeah. Yeah. So we can't really plan too far ahead. I think as the title of the title of the show is Go with the Flow, and it is very much like that, isn't it? It's almost day to day. We've just got to adjust our thinking on a daily basis as news breaks on postponements. Players are moving around in the transfer market. Of course, now the window is open. We've just got to roll with it, really. We can't. I mean, we can look at this as a forward-thinking plan, but we've got to be prepared to rip it up, right?
I'll tell you what really doesn't help: Friday deadlines.
Don't like them.
Not right now. I mean, they cause even more carnage on something that's so hard to predict. Yeah, it is tricky. I mean, you can. I think things should start getting better. Should start easing off a bit now. I think the Premier League have got to sort out the rules, which we're going to talk about in a bit. And hopefully there's going to be less postponements and more double game weeks, and we can get back to planning. But yeah, it's so tough at the moment. Yeah,
it certainly is. But there are tools out there to help us plan, and this is an excellent one, developed by Mikhail Tokvam, who is the guy behind the transfer algorithm, which is a patron service that Fabio apparently uses. Interesting. Maybe you should be getting on that if you want to beat him in the great and the good. But
how much is he paying you? Have you got shares in this or something?
Well, Mikhail, no, he's not paying me anything, but he is a watcher of the show and follows what we do. And I mean, he does some great. He's a great FPL manager in his own right. Got some good ranks. He's put together the chart we're looking at now, which what this does is kind of like an expected fixtures chart. It was on the wire earlier. They beat us to it, but we're rolling out anyway. And what it does, it shows the teams who have got obviously postponements, who've had postponements, who've likely to have double game weeks. And week by week, it shows the likelihood of those double game weeks dropping in. So Burnley at the top of it, obviously with the 5 postponements. And it shows that, they're on 1.45 for game week 23. So Mikel is expecting them to have that double game week fixture with Villa. If you look down the table, Villa they're on 1.45 as well for game week 23. So that's what he's favouring. After game week 24, Burnley are 1.45 for the next 5 game weeks. So he suspects that they'll have double game weeks quite a bit over the next, from 25 to 29. We're not looking at Burnley tonight. We're not really talking about their players. Should we be? I mean, should we already be considering them? I'm
looking at the opposite. I'm looking at players who are playing them. They're going to be knackered. They've got no squads. They can't cope with the demands of multiple games week after week. They're in huge trouble, I think. So my captains are almost certainly going to be pretty much on players playing against Burnley during that run. Yeah,
I mean, of course, when Burnley's doubles do drop in, if they do start dropping in from 25 onwards, that means double game weeks for other teams, right? Their opponent.
Yeah.
So it is mainly going to be their opponent, perhaps, that we look at. But this is just a really interesting way of viewing things. Leicester are second in the table. Watford, Everton, Spurs are the next 4. So those 5 teams, Burnley, Leicester, Watford, Everton, Spurs, over this run right up to the end of the season have their double game weeks plotted in this table. So I would check it out. It's at Mikhail Tokvam. That's MIKKEL TOKVAM for the podcast listeners. It's a really good chart, and it's at least something we can cling to help us plan for when these double game weeks are going to drop in. But we're not in control of it, and who can be certain? Not even Ben Crelling can be certain, right?
No, and it's a really useful thing because there's people in the chat already talking about wildcards and stuff, and we haven't done it here, but like you could effectively look to see where you talked about your trip strategies a minute ago. You kind of see where you're thinking of wildcarding, and then look at the fixtures up until then and work out which team to target. Because I'm looking at this and thinking, Watford have got a pretty tough run, but Leicester and Spurs are teams that I might want to start just getting some of their players in, just to try and tap into some of these. Big win for Spurs tonight, and maybe they can kick on. Although it's interesting who to get from them. I mean, Royale went off at half time, struggling. Reguilon went off again early, and they conceded. So yeah, I mean, Ronaldo to Kane possibly could be on the cards for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's we'll look at Spurs' data later, and I think you could look at either the defence or the attack, the way that Conte's transformed them. But I think one of their attackers, if you can't afford Kane, then possibly looking at Moura. I think he's the favoured one while Son is out. But of course, Son could be back soon, right? Yeah,
could be a factor again. Yeah.
Absolutely, he was always someone I wanted as my second heavy hitter. I wanted Salah Son set up. So I may well go back to that. But yeah, I mean, this is just an interesting chart. So we obviously, for the podcasters, we can't go through it in full detail. It's quite complex, but look at it on Twitter and dig into that as well. These are a list of the postponements. I did say to you, Az, can you do us a table of all the teams and their postponements? And then I looked on Twitter and Legamane, bless him, at Legamane_FPL, had already done it for you, Az.
No, I actually did it and he stole it from me. It's,
very good.
No, he definitely did it. He's very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, this shows that Man City, Brentford and West Ham are the teams who have had no postponements at all. So if you've got players in those teams, they are perhaps, or they're not going to have any double game weeks, or very unlikely to have double game weeks coming up until later in the season when the FA Cup postponements kick in. Whereas Burnley, Arsenal, Leicester, they have got 5 and 4 postponements to be rescheduled respectively. So it's quite handy just having this in mind, isn't it?
It is, yeah, because I'm looking at this, I'm straight away looking at Villa, looking at Burnley and Leeds and thinking, they're 2 really good games. Whenever they come in, I'm going to want players for those. Look at Leicester as well. I mean, Norwich at home, Everton and Burnley as well. That's 3 really nice fixtures. Maddison scored again today, someone I really wanted before the game got called off. And yeah, it's great because you kind of know teams have got fixtures, but you kind of, because there's been so many postponements, you kind of forget who those games are. So yeah, a graphic like this is great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've ever been in this situation. I can never remember.
No.
To this scale, we've known, we've had seasons before where we know a series of double game weeks are to come. We've had postponements due to snow and various other reasons, but never on this scale. So this is unprecedented as FPL managers. And yes, long-term planning is somewhat impossible, but tools like what Legamane produces and Mikel before can be useful, right, in trying to have a think about forward strategies. But I think the message for me is don't put too much stock in that. Don't get frustrated when your plans have to be ripped up, right?
No, you just need to have in mind, there's no point in completely shutting off, because if we're thinking of Villa, a double game, it might get announced in the next couple of days. Obviously, don't make your transfers tonight. You just know that your plans have got to be flexible to, because I think over the next couple of months we're going to see stuff dropped in, in the blink of an eye, and then all plans are going to be going ahead. So we say every week, but yeah, just hold your transfers. Just hold them.
The thing is, we love the forward planning, don't we? I mean, that's what we're all about, and that's partly what this show is about as well. But it's just been impossible, hasn't it? This season?
Like I said, I'm optimistic. I think things will start getting better, and there'll be a lot more to plan. So in some ways, we've had all the horribleness of the last few months and not being able to plan. But once we start getting a bit of normality back and games start getting dropped in, that's when we can start planning even more than usual.
What have you been in touch with Natalie? Because I often think at the moment, well, how are Natalie and Henry coping with this? Because we brought these guys back into FPL for the first time this season, introduced them to it. They'd never played it before. What a season to bring them in on! It's crazy, isn't it? So we all
kind of froze out the the stats versus eye test stuff, doesn't it? Because it's just who makes their transfers later. That's pretty much what's going to decide it out of those two.
It's been difficult. It's kind of ruined the experiment somewhat. Things may get better though, and they may get better because of this news. The Athletic led with the story. It's everywhere now. I haven't seen the Premier League statement that they refer to, but effectively the Premier League have come out and indicate they're going to revise the rule-ins with the clubs very soon, right? And they're speculating that after this weekend, this could happen. A good thing, sure he has, right?
I mean, I don't think we need to go into it in too much detail. I mean, I just think it's that there are definitely teams abusing the rules and what it was. You go
that far, would you?
Well, yeah. I think so. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I don't know. I just find it's okay. Maybe not abusing the rules is probably the wrong phrase. I think the rules have been set up in a way in which teams can, benefit from certain things. I mean, a Xhaka's red card, using that as a player not playing in your team, I don't think should be, part of the same of the same criteria as a COVID case. That seems obvious, right? But it is, and I guess there's a certain amount of integrity that clubs could show to be like, okay, well, that's not your fault. That's that's our internal thing. We need to sort out. Blah blah blah. But they're not, and I guess if one team doesn't do it, then none of them are going to do it, are they? Because it's not a level playing field.
No,
it's strange. It's very strange.
You're going to look after your own club's interest. But I mean, I think, the Arsenal one was difficult, was controversial. They'd let Maitland-Niles go out on loan about a week before as well. That was a difficult circumstance. And in the Athletic Arts, quite interesting. They looked at what other leagues have done. And this really surprised me. I wasn't aware of this. The Bundesliga, if you've got 15 players that are eligible to play, you can, if you're down to 15, you can ask for postponement. However, injuries and suspensions don't count, right? So, they don't count towards your absentees. So it's 15 including those players. And that surprised me. I mean, obviously the Premier League have not done that. They've done completely the opposite. In Spain as well, any team that can fill 13 players, of which only 5 have to be first-team squad members, you have to fulfil your fixture. So you only have to, if you've got 5 first-teamers, you've got to play.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's extreme compared to what the Premier League have done. And Italy just announced new protocols. Fixtures must be played unless 35% or more of the first team squad have got the virus, have tested positive. And again, with the Premier League, it may only be one, as it was for Arsenal with Odegaard, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, so like you kind of said to me before, it's the Premier League are kind of the soft touch in all of this, because they've left the rules a lot more open. Yeah. For clubs to interpret. I mean, there's something about, isn't there? Like if a player's, if a player's injured or something and needs treatment, and they're having to treat players who've got COVID, does that mean there's less treatment? But I mean, I can't understand what the argument is for having an injured player, and saying they're not available.
No, I think if a club has one COVID case, that's contributing to the absentees. That's enough to let them look at it. And if they've got a string of injuries and suspensions, then and absentees due to African Cup of Nations, then that's it. It only has to be one case of COVID. There's no threshold on the number of cases, and I think surely that's what they'll change. Yeah,
I just wonder if we're going to see a change in. Is there going to be less injuries and more COVID cases? The thing is, though, that what I can't understand is that. For a team like Burnley, and I said this earlier, for a team like Burnley, I can't understand why they would want to just keep pushing everything back as much as they can. I guess at the moment, the argument could be they want to sign a new striker, right? Because they haven't got one. But I said abusing the rules, and I think that was that's probably not the best thing to say, because I don't know the situation at the clubs. But it is strange, isn't it, that Burnley, have that game postponed in amongst all this. It's something where they've already got all these games to figure out, and they're on the search for a new striker, having just lost Chris Wood under really bad circumstances, and that's counting towards the kind of total. Because what would they do with the Premier League? Well, we don't care. You just got to play.
Well, it was one player less, right? And I mean, I've got a table here. This is produced by Chris Glover, an old friend of mine, and I've just got to say, Chris Glover, if you don't know him, which you probably won't because he goes back a long way, was a fantasy football blogger before even I started, I think. So when I started Scout, Chris Glover's articles that he put on his PL Fantasy website, you've got the URL on the bottom here, were a real inspiration to me starting Fantasy Football Scout. So Chris and I go back a long way. I've never met him, don't even know what he looks like, but we've obviously know each other from those old days. He's back in the scene producing some fantasy content now, and he heard me and Luke do we did a stream for Scout not long ago, me and Luke.
Yeah.
And we talked
over Christmas.
Yeah, and we talked about the number of players that each club has available for selection based on injuries and loans and AFCON. And he went away and took that idea, developed it, and produced this table that we've got on screen now, which is basically club by club, the number of available outfield players they've got at the current time, discounting current COVID tests that are positive, injuries, suspensions, AFCON absentees. And it shows Arsenal at the top with only 10 outfield players available, but only one case of COVID, which I think was Odegaard. But look at Burnley. They do have 5 cases of COVID, according to this, right? According to Chris's research. That's the most in the Premier League, known in the Premier League. So Burnley's suspension, although Wood's sale of Wood might have been a factor, they did have 5 cases.
That is interesting. I didn't actually know that. So, yeah, that is it. That is interesting. I guess it's Arsenal, isn't it? Which is... But then you look at Leeds and you think they've got 9 injuries.
Yeah.
And they're not having any... Well, and they're managing to play their games. Would that be different if they had one COVID case?
I guess it would. If they had one positive case, they could ask for postponement if they dipped below the 13.
It's just all so unnecessary, isn't it? Like, there shouldn't be these columns. There should just be COVID tests.
I know, but I think the clubs are looking at it like this. I think the clubs must be looking at it and going, right, if we get a COVID outbreak and we get 1 or 2 who go down with it, because we've got 5 injuries and a couple of the way at the African Cup of Nations, we're hovering around 13, 14. One more case, we can ask the Premier League for a postponement. That must be what's been happening, right? They've been looking at this threshold and go, oh, we're below it, let's make that call. I mean, it's cynical, but that probably was what was happening.
I don't really blame clubs for doing it. Like, if they're thinking that they're going to get stronger teams back in a week or 2 weeks, especially with AFCON going on, I wonder if we'd be seeing this level of postponements if AFCON wasn't going on.
Because that's contributing to the numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, but is it also because teams like feel like we could probably get a team out, but we're going to get some of our key players back if we postpone this game? That's the question mark. The fact that there is that ability for clubs to maybe do that, though, it surely is what makes this whole thing so ridiculous. Because we don't know. Like, I'm sitting here saying, about Burnley and Arsenal, this. I don't know the situation at the clubs, but in some ways I feel like there is a bit of, abuse of the rules a tad, but at the same time, it's not really... They're not doing anything wrong, really. No, because that's the rules.
There's a lot of talk of loopholes, right? And loopholes are kind of like exploits that are open to be used, and if you use them, that's that kind of terminology, isn't it? And I think that the way the Premier League approached it left it open to that, and I think maybe 1 or 2 clubs, I don't want to name names, but 1 or 2 clubs may have seen that opportunity and gone, we're in a bad way, let's use that. That's what I'm
thinking. This is what I mean. I think use of the word of me saying abusing is probably, it is too harsh. I think it's taking advantage of a rule for their own benefit.
But don't worry, as there won't be people out there who will leap on your every word and then criticise you on Twitter, so don't worry, it'll be fine.
Of course not.
Looking at the table, it's interesting. At the bottom, these are the teams that are least likely to get a postponement at the moment. And United with 25 available players, West Ham with 23, Liverpool 23, City 22, Everton now 23, Chelsea 21, Brentford 21, Brighton 21. We can be pretty sure that these teams won't be affected by postponements coming up. So you could use this table. It's available at PL Fantasy. That's the Twitter address for Chris. Twitter address? That's probably not right, is it? Twitter handle. I'm saying dad, aren't I? Yeah. But yeah, so go and seek out this graphic. Chris is updating it. It's really useful. We hope it's not going to be useful for too much longer, because we hope the change of rules is going to mean that we haven't got to worry about this, though, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And if you take away the columns of other injuries and suspended and AFCON, you just use the current positive COVID test, every game should go ahead. Yeah. Because other than Burnley, every team, well, Southampton have 2, all the rest have 1 or 0, and then it's just Burnley. So you would expect there to be no more postponements if they modify these rules. Yeah.
And what's silly as well, look at Villa. They've had 30 appropriately experienced outfield players. That's because they played like the under-23s in the Carabao Cup that game. Yeah. So like Gerrard must have been like, what did we do that for? What did Dean Smith do that for? It's now we've got no chance of getting a postponement. So yeah, it's things like that. It's silly, isn't it, when that was a factor? But
is that one of the reasons why Arsenal had that game postponed? Because they could probably have just taken a load of academy kids and filled the bench with them, but you don't want to, because then it might affect you down the line.
I guess so.
I don't know. I just find it all very, very bizarre, especially especially when you look at the other leagues like you talked about and see how much stricter they were with it.
But when the Premier League come up with this, I guess they didn't sit there and go, what if the clubs did this? And I mean, it's hard to see all the ways around it. But
yeah, true.
That's what's happened. Should we look at some data briefly before we touch on Villa in particular?
Why not?
This isn't updated with tonight's games, so we're not going to put too much stock in this, but I have highlighted Villa here because team data defence over the season, Villa are 7th for minutes per XG, non-penalty conceded, 80.9, 7th in the table behind Palace, Wolves, Liverpool, Brighton, Chelsea and City. So not bad. Over the last 4 game weeks, though, they are, or last 4 matches rather, for every team, they are ranked 4th with 100.8 behind only Brighton, Spurs and Arsenal. We'll obviously update these tables next week, but I think Villa will be still very high. So real progress defensively under Gerrard. Yeah,
we'll talk about it more because I've got some tables on their stats under Gerrard and Smith, but that's been the biggest, I guess, surprise for me. I mean, they haven't really kept too many clean sheets, but all the defensive numbers have improved. So they've had. We'll talk about Villa in a bit, but yeah, I was surprised to see just how much Villa have improved under Gerrard.
Yeah, also highlighted there in the last 4 before tonight, Spurs had only conceded 1 big chance over their last 4 matches. That obviously changed tonight. I didn't see the goals, but obviously they conceded 2 goals. I don't think Maddison was a big chance, was it? That was a deflection, and I missed the Daka goal because I just started watching the Man United game. But so Spurs' defence, as we said, has been much improved under Conte, as has Arsenal's under Arteta recently. So yeah, I mean, we knew this anyway. We've seen it with the eye test, but it's good to see the data back it up. Attacking data, again, I've just highlighted really last 4 and underlined the promise shows by Spurs for big chances over their last 4. Before tonight, they were second of a big chance every 22.5. They certainly had some big chances tonight, so they're probably top by even more now. And 5.2 minutes per chance was second only to Liverpool over the last 4. So the Spurs attack definitely has pepped up. And I watched a bit of the game tonight, and they look very lively indeed. I mean, for the first time this season, they actually do look like a team who can score a lot of goals.
Kane had 4 shots in 20 minutes as well, which is, we haven't seen him do that all season. I mean, again, there's Leicester have just been so bad defensively, apart from that clean sheet against Liverpool somehow. So again, it's hard to kind of take real stock from it, but there's definitely encouragement.
It shows what an outlier that clean sheet was with Salah, wasn't it?
Just what a weird season.
Crazy, isn't it? I've highlighted West Ham here. Minutes per big chance, 21.2 over their last 4 matches. Excellent from the West Ham attack. But it has been all about Bowen really, rather than Antonio, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was interesting because I was working earlier and I just happened to put on the match of the day challenge we did, and we were talking about West Ham, and we were just absolutely obsessed with Antonio, obviously because he scored a goal against Palace and he was looking so good, and we were talking about Bowen, and we were just like, he's playing well but no end product, probably going to be out of the team. So we were talking about Lingard coming in. And you just look at it now, and Antonio and Bowen have just completely swapped around just because of the end product that Bowen's showing. He's doing everything. England call-up's got to be coming soon for him. Yeah,
if we switch to player data over the season, I've highlighted Bowen in 17th for minutes per XG non-penalty, 165.1, but he's only just behind Antonio now, 161.5. Yeah. Antonio, not so long ago, start of the season, was right at the top.
I know.
He was like top 3 player, but Bowen has just gradually chipped away at him. And if we look at the last 6 game weeks, Bowen is actually ahead of Antonio, 9th overall, 131.4. Where is Antonio in that list? I can't see him highlighted. So yeah, Antonio's probably not even in that. Anyway, he's 12th for 138.9. So over the last 6 game weeks, Bowen has been the stronger attacking force, not only in terms of FPL returns, but the data as well.
Well, I think the tactics have changed from West Ham. I mean, we've seen at the start of the season, Antonio wasn't drifting out left and right. I mean, he was playing, right through the middle, and they were getting the ball to as much as they could. Now he's often used as a decoy to bring in players like Bowen to come forward. I think Bowen's the main man at West Ham at the moment, but that's from what I see in the matches, and it's suggesting data as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might have something to do. I mean, they were playing a back 3 at the start of the season, and they had the wing backs pushing forward. But now it seems Antonio does come out wide and let Bowen take the middle berth, with his pace, I guess, and agility. I mean, Antonio does have pace, but not perhaps over 3 or 4 yards, right? Antonio needs to build it up. And he did show it at the weekend, actually. There was one instance where he outrun the defence, and I thought, hello, he's looking sharper. So he's showing a few signs now that Antonio's getting back to that early season athleticism and confidence. But, yeah, Bowen has just been superb, and he delivered again, didn't he? So if you were going to sell one, it would be Antonio at the moment, right?
Oh, without doubt. There's absolutely no way I'm getting rid of Bowen. He's fantastic. What is with Antonio though? Like the one thing we were worried about him was injuries. And he hasn't had any of those all season, but has just gradually been slipping. It's amazing actually that he's still 12th on this list, because if I didn't own him, I wouldn't be particularly worried looking at the matches. He doesn't ever look to me like he's going to hit a big haul, but to be 12th, just behind Jota, for example.
That's 12 over the last 6 game weeks.
Yeah.
So 2 goals, 2 assists, to be fair, which is not a bad return. But it's just we got so spoilt in the opening 4 or 5 game weeks, didn't we? That's
we did.
All. Yeah, going back to the season, he's 14th overall. I've highlighted Adamida here because he's impressed me for Norwich in the last couple of games. 4.9 striker. I don't think I would go him over Broha, but I think, we're always looking to point out players that appear on this table as one to the future, maybe next season. I don't think Norwich will be in the Premier League next season, but maybe Adamida will be. Maybe he'll be picked up. He's just looked... When I've seen him last couple of games, I think, why haven't they been playing him more?
I've got to be honest, I don't know anything about him. I haven't seen Norwich. I didn't even see the highlights against Everton, so I'll trust your judgment on him. Yeah,
he's a public armed international. He's got pace, got a bit of power. His finishing is still to be worked on, composure and so on, but he's got the physical tools. And it's just, we look at... I'm going to bring up the forwards now.
Only 20 as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to bring up the forwards because Pukki's performances this season have been pretty awful in terms of data. Adamida, over the season, because he hasn't played many games, is actually 4th for minutes per XGI non-penalty, 159.9 amongst forwards. You've got to go all the way down to 45th place to find Pukki there on 427.1 minutes per XGI non-penalty. Pukki has just been so disappointing. And yet he was one of those strikers we thought, he could be our 3rd striker. Just not happened, does it?
No. I don't really know obviously they took Buendia out, and that was kind of a big thing with, his success has been built on that kind of partnership. So I guess there was something that, I don't know. I think they just changed tactics, don't they, when they come up to the Premier League? They did it before when they came up, and now, and he's just not getting the service, and now they're looking at other options. I rate him. I rate him as a player. I think he's a class player. I just think he's destined to be one of those players that never quite makes it in the top league. But
he's one of many forwards who have let us down. It's interesting, when I looked at this data, I showed the top 30 here, but in positions 33, 34, 45 and 46, we've got Raul Jimenez, Tony, Pukki and Ings. I mean, Tony got his goal tonight, but up until tonight, he's been battling to deceive, hasn't he? We've had so many strikers let us down, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, Ings has been disappointing, and we're going to talk about him in a bit when I talk about Villa, because I don't see him being in Villa's strongest side. And he's someone I thought, big money signing from Southampton to Villa. I thought he'd be have a real impact, and just hasn't.
Can we call him a flop? Is that too harsh?
Can we call him a flop? Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. I mean, he got injured. He's had his injuries again, hasn't he? I think under Smith, he wasn't. He was doing kind of okay, but not amazing like the rest of the team. But under Gerrard, I just can't see him kind of turning it around and being a big factor, because that's not how Gerrard plays. It would mean Watkins going out wide and Ings playing through the middle, and I think that's not going to happen given that Watkins is offering so much attacking wise. Yeah,
Watkins 20th in this table, 214.3 minutes per XGI non-penalty. Not brilliant, but certainly the best option in the Villa ranks. And yeah, I mean, I think we'll look at Villa now. He's 42nd overall this season, 214.3, so not superb, but in terms of the Villa attack, probably the go-to option. But over to you now to look at some of this Villa data. We'll look at the team data first, Az. So this is 2 tables comparing game weeks 1 to 11 to 12 to 22. So Gerrard joined in game week 12, of course.
Yeah, it's kind of the perfect time to look at them, because obviously we had 11 games under Smith this season, and then 11 games under Gerrard. So what I did was just look at kind of the defensive numbers and the attacking numbers, just to see kind of where the differences are. We touch on it a bit when we look at the team data anyway, but it's I guess it's half and half, so it's some of it won't be too surprising. But the ticker, so they were 13th for game weeks 1 to 11 and 14th for 12 to 22, so barely anything in it. But the difference has been massive. I mean, 20 goals conceded, under Smith compared to 12 under Gerrard. Minutes per XG conceded of 69.4 under Smith and 78.6 under Gerrard. And just everything's better. Goal attempts in the box conceded 73 under Gerrard, 100 under Smith. Like all the key things that you want to kind of see are just better. XG conceded non-penalty 8.58 under Gerrard, and it was 13.68 under Smith. So they were conceding like more big chances, more shots in the penalty area, less minutes for an XG conceded, just everything, and more goals conceded under Smith as well. So just everything is better.
Yeah, he's come in, and we did think that he'd get them all organised, and so we've seen that. It just hasn't materialised in a string of clean sheets as yet. But their time could come, couldn't it, with the short-term fixtures they've got, and of course the doubles too.
I mean, I'm reluctant to say that after we've constantly called Crystal Palace and Brentford out for being high, and they've just continued to disappoint. But looking at the stats, all the evidence suggests that with the run Villa have got, that there's going to be some clean sheets on the horizon.
What about the attacking data? Because that's what I'm showing here. I haven't got the defensive tables up on the screen. But the attacking data is less conclusive, isn't it? There's been less of a jump in improvement.
Yeah, it's harder to judge attacking data because they were 9th on the ticker under Smith and 16th out of 20 under Gerrard. But there's not been a massive amount of change between them. So they're kind of like lower half of the table in terms of some of the kind of key attacking numbers. So 14 goals they scored under Smith, 13 under Gerrard. A minutes per chance of 8.7 for Gerrard is up on 8.2. So again, not a huge difference. What I did find interesting though was, there's a lot of talk about Gerrard getting these fullbacks up the pitch. So creating chances from the wings, I thought we might see a bit of a difference between those. But actually it's gone down, particularly on the left-hand side, which is Matt Target's side. And I've got some interesting stats on Matt Target in a second as well, because they created 43 chances down Target's side under Smith and only 31 under Gerrard. So we will talk about players that have been doing well under Gerrard, but Matt Target is certainly not one of them.
Maybe that's why Dina's come in, right?
Absolutely.
So the player data's up now. So these are two tables showing the protagonists really under both Smith and Gerrard so far. I mean, you can see Target there. Was it 491 minutes per XGI under Smith, and that is that's just gone through the roof under Gerrard, right?
Well, through the roof or through the floor, depending on how
I guess. Yeah.
How you look at it. I mean, down from 491 to 948. He's statistically one of their worst performing attacking players. And that's why I absolutely think he's come in and addressed that he needed to get some more attacking verve down that left-hand side. And like looking at these stats, Dean is literally the perfect replacement, I think. Because, I mean, some people are saying that Target's a better defender than Dean, but I don't buy that at all. I don't think Target's that good defensively.
I think I'm in that camp. I don't think Dean is a great defender. I think Target's pretty solid. He's nothing spectacular, but he's pretty solid. So I think I probably would give him the edge defensively. But
I just don't really rate Target. I don't think he's that good. I think Dean is such a massive upgrade that, there's some people worried that he's going to have minutes rotated. I just can't see it. I think Dean's going to play all the time, especially looking at these stats and seeing how Target isn't offering enough down that flank. What is really interesting though is these two charts on the screen are just completely different, except for Watkins at the top. So Watkins has consistently been, the best performing player in terms of minutes per XGI, expected goal involvement, all of that. Ings has fallen down, quite a lot. He's played half the amount of minutes under Gerrard than he did under Smith, but his expected goal involvement and minutes per XGI is down 313 under Smith to 461 under Gerrard. Jacob Ramsey has climbed massively, which I don't think anyone's too surprised by. They played similar minutes, 659 under Gerrard.
That's a surprise. I didn't think Ramsey played that many under Smith. Yeah,
I think he was just a bit anonymous. But I mean, he's gone from 793.8 minutes per XGI up to 328. So halved his time that he's getting a kind of expected goal. His touch in the penalty area is relatively the same. So it's just a bit strange. Like, I think he's operating in a similar kind of role, but just being asked to just do a bit more offensive stuff.
He seems to be
key passes and shots and stuff.
He seems to be just having more freedom. Like, he seems to be playing with more confidence, more freedom, and the goal he scored at Norwich shows that, doesn't he? When he ran 50 yards to score that wonder goal. I don't think he'd have done that under Dean Smith. I think he would have played a sideways pass maybe. I don't know. Just the impression I get that under Gerrard he feels inspired to be more swashbuckling in the style of the manager himself, right?
Yep, absolutely. I think so. I think Gerrard's obviously got a knack of putting his arm around players and getting the most out of them. I think he's a really good man manager, and I think the defensive numbers show that he's a good tactical manager as well. So I think it's good times ahead for Villa. The one other player that I want to mention here is Buendia, because Buendia is a really interesting one because he's kind of their most creative player based on these stats under Smith and Gerrard. So 13 chances created under Gerrard is the highest of all players. 12. Sorry, actually, it's under McGinn. McGinn's 13. Buendia's 12, but not a huge amount in it. And under Smith, it was Buendia at 15 and McGinn at 14. So McGinn is creating quite a few chances, and we know how good he's been this season. But what's really interesting about Buendia is he's gone from 12 touches in the penalty area under Smith to 25 under Gerrard. So he's getting further up the pitch. And he's talked about this partnership that he's going to have with Coutinho. And I think he's going to fly under the radar because people are going to be looking at Dean, Coutinho and Watkins. But I think there could be a case for considering Buendia as well.
Well, Coutinho is the most signed player this week. I mean, do you think that's premature? I mean, I think obviously he's come off the bench, he scored that goal, tapping, he's had his 20 minutes. You think it's too early to go in for him?
Not really. I think it's a good move. I think he's going to be in that team, next game week and probably won't lose his place. I mean, he might still have his minutes managed a little bit, but I think it's a choice of Buendia and Coutinho. I think I probably still would go for Coutinho just because he's got that kind of almost world-class pedigree on his day. But I don't mind Buendia as a pick. So, I mean,
I guess Coutinho may not get both games. If they do get the double, I would say it's probably too early for Coutinho to play both. But after the international break, you've got to think by then he's settled in, he's had some matches, and he'll be starting every game, barring any injuries. With the Target Dina thing, in a double game week, with Target get the second game? Possibly. I mean, I guess for me, it's just too early to see if Dina is giving him that extra bit. I mean, he did look good on his debut. He did get forward. He put in the most crosses, I think, and was certainly prominent in the attack. But I'm still undecided whether or not he would get both games in a double game.
Really? See, I'm a lot more positive about it after doing this research, because Gerrard loves a marauding left back. That was like one of the main features of Rangers play.
The two fullbacks.
And the fact Target just hasn't been doing it at all. Like, the fact his drop off has been so alarming under Gerrard compared to Smith makes me think that he's just going to be out, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone in the summer.
Yeah, as I said before, Target's been solid but very unspectacular, and I think Gerrard wants more. So if you were going to go if you could just pick one attacker, one defender, it'd be Dino in defence, obviously.
Yeah.
From what you're talking about. In attack, would it be Watkins?
I think you've got to go for Watkins. I mean, I haven't mentioned him, but I mean, 46 touches in the penalty area is like double any of the other players in the side. 16 shots in the box is more than double like the next best player, which is Ramsey and Buendia. He's creating chances, 9. That's like 4th best out of Villa players. He's just doing everything that you could want. I think he's an absolutely brilliant option for a second striker, Watkins.
Yeah, and I think if the double game week is announced as we expect, then I think the Antonio to Watkins move will be a very popular transfer for those who haven't already gone Coutinho. Because I just think that's it's a like for like in terms of money, and obviously with the two good fixtures that Villa will have, if it is Burnley and Everton, you've got to back them for goals, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, and the trouble with Coutinho or Buendia is you look at the midfield and you look at Jota, you look at Salah coming back in, you look at Bowen, I've got Martinelli, I've got Foden. Like, I don't want to lose any of those, but I look at Antonio, King, and Ronaldo and think I could lose any one of those three.
This is it with Coutinho. I don't know what he's got to do to force his way into midfield. No. I think it's really difficult to find that spot for him, isn't it? You've got to be playing 5, haven't you, to get him in?
Yeah, I mean, maybe when Salah comes back, Jota doesn't become as essential as he is, and he's been a bit disappointing. Maybe it's Jota that misses out for him, but I think we can assess for a little while. But I wouldn't begrudge anyone for getting Coutinho in now, given the run Villa have got, if you've got a spot for him.
Okay, I was in the camp that it's a bit too early, but maybe not. Maybe with the break, that could be key, because he can have time with the manager, and they get acclimatised and get his match fitness up. I think after the break from 25 onwards, 24 onwards rather, then he becomes an option. I was surprised to see so many going in for him. I guess it's reputation, and obviously he got the goal. Yeah,
there's a bit of nostalgia there as well. I mean, I've had good experience with him in my team, and you kind of want to recreate that.
Let's just remind ourselves of the fixtures Villa have got, because if you sort the ticker by, and this is the ticker on Fantasy Football Scout, of course, if you sort it by fixture difficulty over the next 6, there they are right at the top. Everton in this game week, plus we think they will have Burnley or Leeds as well. Then they've got Leeds at home in 24, so they will play them twice back to back if that did drop. Another reason why it's surely got to be the Burnley fixture. So it would go Leeds in 24, Newcastle 25, Watford 26, Brighton 27, Southampton 28. It's a fantastic run, isn't it?
24 to 26, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford. You want to have an attacker for those 3 games if you can.
Yeah, and then somewhere in that one as well, another double could drop in, of course. That's not beyond the realms of possibility. So you can see why Villa are a focus for us tonight, even before the second fixture is announced. Also want to put out City a second, right? And, I go into this period with Gundogan somehow still in my team. You've got Foden. We've both got Cancelo, of course. But look at that run. Southampton, Brentford, Norwich. You've got to get a City attacker, haven't you?
I think so. And De Bruyne is so attractive, given that what he's doing at the moment, playing every minute and scoring amazing goals and creating crazy amounts of chances like he always does. It's just with Salah coming back in 24-25, how do you fit him in? Would
you do the Bruno to De Bruyne transfer just for 1 week this week?
I was thinking about. I think De Bruyne is the best captain option this week. If I had a free hit or something and I was choosing a captain, I'd pick De Bruyne. I think that's probably quite an easy decision to make. So it is a bit tempting on that, but for me, I've got to sort my defence out.
Livramento, Johnson.
Yeah, I haven't got the luxury of premium.
I saw
swaps.
Today Gianni was on a show, Pimp My Team, and your team came up, and he didn't realise it was your team. No. Somehow, even though it said FFS as under the team name, he didn't spot that. And he critiqued it, and he was almost laughing at the thought of having Pinnock in the defence. You take that all right?
He treated me like a right casual on that thing. He did. He said, "You've done really well getting in wide forwards."
I know. I thought it was brilliantly patronising, because he didn't know it was you, did he? So he was doing a great job.
It didn't have my name. It just had my team name,
right.
Hasselhoff. Right. I think they did it deliberately to trick him, and it worked.
It was good. It was a good stunt to pull. Yeah, you have got to sort that defence out, but you've got Foden. You're sitting pretty. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I don't think you have to worry. Whereas me with Gundogan, I mean, the move I was always going to make was to upgrade Gundogan to Foden. We'll see when I look at my team in a bit whether I'll do that. Elsewhere, big dunk in the interim manager job for Everton. He's got Villa, Newcastle, Leeds, Southampton. It's not a bad start for him. He's got chances there, hasn't he, to get going?
Yeah, and got Calvert-Lewin back. That's it. That's all I can say.
The thing is, Calvert-Lewin we were led to believe was greatly inspired by Big Dunk, right? In the backroom staff, and a lot of Calvert-Lewin's development is kind of unofficially put down to Big Dunk's influence. So now he's manager again. It could spark him, right? You never know. But it's Everton, and they had just lacked so many. I mean, at Norwich they were appalling, weren't they?
I just don't know. There's no ways the creativity. That's what I mean about Dean being like one of their most important players, because Benitez stifled those fullbacks and looked to get Townsend and Gray, being the kind of the main creative hubs. And I mean, realistically, that wouldn't be how I'd have built a team around Gray and Townsend. No, they've done all right this season, but I'd be looking to get Dean as involved as possible. It hasn't got him, so he's going to have to rely on Townsend and Gray going forward. And have they got enough to feed Calvert-Lewin? It is a good run of games, but I'm happy not to own any.
Okay, all right. Let's look at the predictions, shall we? Because this doesn't include tonight's games, but a bit of a comeback. At least I'm trying to claw you back in this. So I've got 6% on the outcomes. Neither of us got the we got the score right for United. I think we both predicted. Did you go 3-1 for United? You might have done, actually. You might have got that spot on, because I think I went 2-1 United, and I think you may have done 3-1 United.
3-1.
Check that.
That was bold,
because I think you have. I think you've gone 3-1. Because I looked at it tonight, and while the matches were on, and it was 0-0, and I saw you had 3-1. I thought, well, you're not going to get that right, and then it's turned out to be the case.
I've got amazingly good news for you.
Go on.
You went 3-1.
I went
beauty.
2-1. Your beauty. It was me. I got it spot on.
It's almost like you knew that and were just
I did,
wanting
honestly.
me to.
So my second correct score of the game week. The comeback is on. So it's quite close between us now. But correct scores, you're ahead 97-89. But I'm level now on correct scores, 16 apiece. Come on.
That was always your thing, though. You're always good at the. Well, I mean, I say good. You're always
all right.
Okay.
I think though maybe my bad predictions this season or predictions being worse than you has actually been a factor in why my FPL season not been as good, because they are linked. If you think a team's going to win 3-0, you'll go and buy a player from that team, right? And if you're not getting that right, you're not going to get the picks right. So I think to an extent there is some overlap in what we do here with this stuff, right?
Yeah, you'd hope so. Otherwise, it's a pointless segment.
And as I get better and close the gap here, then obviously I will close that 110 points.
I thought you said it was all luck and really biased and it didn't actually mean anything.
No, not at all. No, I'm sure I didn't. Okay, this week's fixtures then. Let's start with the Friday kickoff. It's Watford Norwich. You both got a player in this. You've got King. I've got Mr. Dennis.
Yep.
We hope this is going to be played. It's an interesting game. We both predicting a win for Watford. You've gone out 3-1. I've gone 2-0. Easy outcome, you think? Norwich get a goal though, do you think?
I don't think it's an easy outcome. I think I struggled with this one to kind of work out who I thought was gonna win. I mean, it's a big win for Norwich against Everton. I did not see that coming, and Watford can't defend, so I can definitely see Norwich scoring just because of that. But you've got to think Watford have got a bit more than Norwich. I would have thought. With King and Dennis and.
João Pedro has looked good as well.
Attack-wise, they just look like they're going to have enough to see him off. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, you don't know Adam Eden. You might do after this game because he has looked good. And I've gone 2-0, but I do think he could cause some problems. But I think you're right. I think the firepower's with Watford. They win the game. A lot of our scores are similar. What I tend to do is when you send me this, I hide your column straight away and then I do mine. And then I unhide your column and go, oh God, I've picked the same as.
I don't even see yours. You don't even see.
No, you don't know. Everton versus Villa. You've gone 2-0 to Villa. I've gone a 1-1. Big bounce factor, you see.
I just think Villa are good. Just a really good side, and Everton aren't. So I've gone for a win for the good side.
You like to keep it simple, don't you?
I do. That's
I get it. I just think the Everton, the Goodison faithful, will be right behind Big Dunk. I think it'd be an occasion. And obviously Gerrard, there's a little bit of grudge there. So Big Dunk and Gerrard. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought at the start of the season they'd be opposing each other in the dugout?
Amazing, isn't it?
Crazy. I've gone 1-0. You've gone 2-0. Brentford Wolves. You've gone the 1-0 Wolves. I've gone 2-0. I did put 1-0 first, then changed it to 2.
I can't remember the last time I didn't put 1-0 for Wolves.
I know it tends to be the default score, doesn't it? They've done so well defensively, hasn't they? And Sarr, I was looking today at the scores he's been turned. I think FBL General posted up Sarr's returns. He's been an incredible. And it's coincided when Andy North, good old Andy North, sold Sarr, and then Sarr went on a run. And basically, every time Sarr keeps a clean sheet or gets bonus, I always text Andy going, points for you there. And he goes, I've sold him. Sold him 3 weeks ago. And I always forget. I always forget he sold him.
He made 9 saves against Southampton, Sarr.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Crazy. He's a player I'll always associate with Andy North because he had him before anybody else.
Yeah.
But then he jumped on the Ramsdale bandwagon and let him go. But
that's the ultimate betrayal for you, isn't it?
It is. But I'm there too now. So Leeds Newcastle, we've both gone 2-1. I think no real surprise. I think Leeds looked good at West Ham, didn't they? And obviously Harrison got the hat trick, but Rafinha didn't half look lively again, didn't he?
He did. When's he going to get a double-digit return? Will he ever get a double-digit return?
How many has he got this season? He got one last season. He got none so far.
He hasn't got any. No.
He's never been in my team this season. I've gone the entire season without him. And I think at the start of the season, I would have said that's impossible because I loved him so much last season, despite him being frustrating. But I do look at him and think, if it is the Leeds fixture that's dropped in this week, I would be tempted. You know, they would have 2 good fixtures. Let me just remind myself what the fixtures they would have. Leeds would have Newcastle and Villa, both at home, which would be decent fixtures. Rafinha just looks more lively, and also you got to think Bamford surely can't be far away now, and then he'll have someone other than Dan James to convert the chances, right?
I think he's a great pick. He's like Coutinho. Like I can't currently find a way to fit him in because I like my 5 midfielders. But if someone had him in their team, I'd be like, yeah, great pick, really solid. Should do well for you. Him.
That's the problem again. It's the midfield spots, isn't it? I mean, that's why we really want Bamford back as a factor. We agree on the next one as well. Man United 1, West Ham 2. Both gone with that. United are awful to watch, aren't they? I hate owning Ronaldo. Number 1, I don't rate Ronaldo. Sorry, I just don't. I know he was the best player in the world, but again tonight, I mean, he had a nice little chest layoff for Bruno, but he didn't do, and he didn't half sulk when he went off again, didn't he? I mean, God, dearie me. I haven't enjoyed owning him at all.
Got a lovely soundbite there.
Mark. Well, I don't rate Ronaldo.
I don't rate Ronaldo.
It's not like I said it 10 years ago. I mean, at 36, he's fantastic. It's brilliant that he's performing at the level he is, right? But he is not. I don't think he's anywhere near justifying the price tag in FPL. Just don't see it.
It's hard to argue, and like the first half of the United game was painful to watch. I tweeted, I went back and watched Arcane, anime series I'm watching. I got bored of it, and literally I turned it off, and then of course United scored because that's typical. But West Ham just, you know, they're like the two opposites of each other. West Ham just have such a great identity and way of playing, and players who fit the system perfectly. And United are the complete opposite of that. There's no egos at West Ham. The United team's full of them. You know, it was a bad result for West Ham against Leeds, but I just think it's a bit of a mismatch between them and the United, and I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham won it.
What I didn't like about Ronaldo, and I'm going to go on about him again, is tonight they won the game. They were 2-1 up, or were they even 3-1 up when he went off? No, they were 2-0 up when he went off. So the points looked like they were in the bag, and yet he throws a strop coming off. Like, it was a positive evening for United, a positive game. He'd played a part in the second goal. There was no... Why was there a need to, obviously, for the cameras, for the manager, show that dissent, when he's meant to be a player who is world-class, seen it all, experienced, doesn't let things get to him? You've said to me before, why would he let things get to him? Why would he do that? Why would he sulk in that way?
It's the brand, Mark.
It's
the brand.
Annoying,
he hasn't scored. He hasn't scored, and he's missed some okay-ish chance. Not great chances, but, you know, hit the bar, and... you know, he's part of the man. I mean, I agree with you to a large extent. I think it is a stupid reaction to being subbed off, and it was frustrating watching him as a captain tonight because he never really looked like he was going to get a goal. No. Like, he had a couple of half chances, but you know, they just weren't getting the ball to him, and a lot of the time he's just kind of standing there waiting for it and wasn't making the runs, or you know, made a run and someone didn't pass it and he threw his hands down. It is frustrating.
We talked a lot about getting crosses to him early in the season. We haven't seen those soaring headers, and we haven't seen any of that, have we? Really?
Well, it's got that bloody Wan-Bissaka, Dalot, and you know.
I know, but he had a really smart goal at West Ham. He had that game against Spurs where he looked good with Cavani, but it's been few and far between, really. I mean, Lukaku's the same. I can't stick up for Lukaku, and Kane's only just started as well. So
yeah, I think you called it. Company. You called it really well at the start of the season when you said the United team, you know, would have to change and adapt to get the most out of him. And I don't see that they have, really, because they aren't really getting the most out of him. They're relying on, you know, bits of brilliance from him bailing them out. But overall, they're not a better team with him in the side.
It was so much better. I thought at Villa, that first half hour, United were excellent. Like, they looked effervescent. They were quick on the ball, one-touch passing. They were building things. Elanga's come in and looked lively. He was good tonight as well. They just looked better without Ronaldo straight away. And, you know, and Bruno obviously did what he did. I just think, I think it's a shame. I don't want him, as soon as, you know, obviously Ronaldo's going to fund Salah, and I doubt I'll ever get him back. And if he's at United next season, I don't want to go there again.
I mean, it's similar to Lukaku, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Lukaku is obviously a lot younger, and you know, he was billed as being the person that would perfectly fit the system of Chelsea. But he's really struggling because they're not getting the ball to him either.
It's very similar.
The Brighton game, like, you know, Ronaldo, Lukaku, it doesn't matter what striker you put in there, they just were not getting the ball.
No.
to that striker. It must be frustrating,
and he's
to play for that amount of
moaning
time
as well. He's moaning as well. Like they're both players who, when they arrive, we herald them as these guys are going to turn FPL on their head. They've done anything but that. It's been really frustrating. It's a real shame. Let's move on. Southampton City, we've both gone 3-0. Formality. Yeah. I mean, we always write off Southampton, don't we? I feel guilty about that sometimes because they can get a surprise result. They beat City, didn't they, last season, I think. So I just don't see it in this one, though. I mean, they're a machine City, aren't they?
And they've been poor lately, Southampton, as well. So I think it would be a real turn up if they did get anything from this. It'd be a real turn up if they scored, given City's defensive numbers as well.
And they've got troubles at fullback. I think right back, Ward-Prowse has been filling in there. Walker Peters is injured. I think Livermento's definitely out. So you've got to think who's going to play out there. Could be Sterling, could be Mahrez. There could be trouble there on that side. Arsenal versus Burnley. You've gone the 3-0. I've gone the 2-0. I mean, what kind of team? I mean, this is what I mean. What are Burnley going to be able to put out if they do have to play? I
am very, very tempted by a Martinelli captain this week. And I know we don't like to captain the cheaper budget players. And I'm not just saying that as a Martinelli sort of early adopter. I just think of all the games, I can see if a full-strength Arsenal team turn up against a really depleted Burnley team who haven't played in ages as well and have just lost their main attacking threat up front, there's surely going to be they could be a bit of a trounce. This is the one game where I think this could be a big score. Well,
this is why I want to wait to see what Arsenal have tomorrow night in the EFL Cup. They're going to put the strongest team out they can, you'd think, because they've still got a chance of winning this tie. It's 0-0 with Liverpool. So we'll get an idea of what they'll have available to them for the Burnley game. And if Sean Dyche turns up in the press conference and says, we've got enough, we're likely to play, or intimates that, I was going to say if the pie order goes in. Did you see that about the pie order?
I love that.
Didn't turn out to be true though. Somewhere there's a load of chicken and mushroom pies doing nothing now. If you don't know that, basically there was someone on Reddit, I think, who had information about when Burnley asked for their pies to be ordered to Turf Moor, and because the pie order hadn't been cancelled, there was a presumption the match would go ahead because the pies wouldn't be ordered otherwise. And as it turned out, the pies are probably sitting there, like I say, in the deep freeze now.
I love FPL. Did you see Harry Maguire's deleted his FPL team as well?
No! Oh, that was amazing. Yeah,
he'd taken out Ronaldo.
Yeah. Did that happen before deadline? Because I only saw it after deadline.
Well, we only knew about it after deadline.
Right, okay. Yeah, as soon as that broke, I thought, that's it, Ronaldo's not playing. So Maguire's deleted his team, has he?
He's deleted his team now, yeah.
Do you think that's Rangnick? So it's obviously got through to him.
Someone, yeah, I think it's probably someone.
Probably Ronaldo, probably.
It probably is. Yeah, it probably is.
And it's hilarious because Maguire was on the bench for both the games as well. It's just, So it's fun. FPL is brilliant.
You've got to love it, haven't you?
Yeah. We both going Arsenal win, 3-0 for you, 2-0 for me. But I think it's all going to come down to the Arsenal team sheet and what Dyche says. If Burnley have to play and they've still got 3 or 4 cases of COVID and they've only got 14 players, like 3 goalkeepers on the bench or whatever it's going to be, then you've got to back a home win and by a decent margin, right? So this could be the opportunity, this fixture.
I think so.
Palace Liverpool, you've gone 3-1, I've gone 2-0. Yeah, Palace, I don't know. I think in attacking terms, they're starting to really grow as a team. Defensively, the data is still showing up for them, but it's just not materialising, is it?
No, I mean, offensively against Brighton, they were rubbish. Like they barely created one chance.
No, at least they didn't do the job that I predicted.
No, I mean, Brighton had them. It's such a painful experience watching that game, watching them concede.
So predictable, wasn't it? I
know. I tweeted about it as well. So we're playing so good, we're definitely going to concede, and we did. But yeah, I think against Liverpool, I think they're going to be less cagey and go for a bit. I think they still get beaten, but I can see them getting a goal.
I'm backing a Brighton win at Leicester. So are you. You've gone 2-1. I've gone 1-0. Yeah, I mean, I think Brighton have got that solidity at the back. They've got a little bit of threat. Leicester are so porous that I think even the Brighton attack, which is somewhat powder puff, will get the goal, right? Mopé Trossard will start, you think, having been benched in the week.
Yeah.
And I think Mopé gets another cheeky goal, right?
We need to play a team that concedes loads of big chances because then eventually one of them will go in, and that's Leicester. Yeah. I think it's actually a good game for us.
And Chelsea Spurs both gone the 1-1. I think that's a Lawrenson scoreline, but I think it's probably the most likely outcome.
Chelsea have been so poor.
Dreadful. For so long. Again, watching them, like watching United with Ronaldo and Chelsea with Mount and Alonso was not a good experience.
No.
because they both struggled to get anything going and to offer any threat. Chelsea again they've got problems there. There's something wrong because they've got all their team there. I mean, they've hardly got any players missing now. He's got his full strength squad together. It's just not working at the moment for them. I don't know what's gone wrong. It's the wing backs, of course. I think obviously they're the key absentees. They were, when James and Chilwell were in their pomp earlier in the season, it looked like they were going to break FPL, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, they have played more games than other clubs. They played the most, I think, over time. But, and they have, someone said, but they've got millions of pounds on the bench. It's like, yeah, but if you're knackered, you're knackered. It doesn't matter how much money you cost. But they're having to play like Kovacic and Kante when they weren't fully fit and all that kind of stuff. But then you watch them against Brighton, and like some of the stuff they just weren't doing anything. Like it wasn't. I don't know if it was. You can blame fatigue or tiredness for it. Like they just weren't connecting passes. They're looking like United do. When they can barely string like a couple of passes together. United aren't tired. It wasn't just fatigue. It was just there was a lack of cohesion and chemistry. Kovacic was taking snapshots like in bad positions.
Yeah, Kante was losing the ball and Mount was hardly involved. Like players.
Ziyech was rubbish as well, apart from the goal he scored. Like he was giving the ball away.
He was giving the Moody's when he scored. I saw the Brighton team sheet, and I think you had Alzati and was it Moda in central midfield?
Mm.
And I looked at that and thought, well, Chelsea are going to own the midfield. They're going to win this game.
Alzati was brilliant.
And Brighton
absolutely
more than held
their
own. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great performance from Brighton, but Chelsea were poor, and it's not the first time we've seen it over the last 7 or 8 games. It's just amazing that City, Liverpool, and Chelsea were like those three seem so far and beyond everyone else in the league, and now it's just City and Liverpool. Like there's no way Chelsea are going to compete with those two.
I haven't seen Spurs tonight. I think maybe I might revise my score. I'll stick with 1-1, but I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs do win it.
No, nor would I.
It's got that little bit more, and if Kane plays like he did tonight, it's going to cause them
good time to play him.
Okay, let's talk the captain conversation. But first, the captain matrix. These are the players that I identified a few weeks back would be in the frame for captains going forward in 23, 24, 25, 26, and now 27. This week is an interesting one. We've got Watkins versus Everton, possibly Burnley as an outlier there. Just listed in case that does drop in. If that does drop in, is the captain conversation over, first of all? Would you go Watkins captain?
No, because I would struggle to get him, I think. I mean, maybe I'll do Antonio to Watkins and yeah, I guess I probably would do that because West Ham got United. But then West Ham got 2 good games. No, I would do that. Yeah, I think he probably is. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to get Dean. So I could captain Dean in theory with 2 defensive games, but I think the Watkins move would be the most sensible. I think he's the obvious captain, isn't he, if they get a double?
Well, we'll talk about the captain in depth in a second. Jota and Trent are the 2 I've picked out as the primary candidates, but there are some differentials which we'll discuss. Going forward, Game Week 24 is a really interesting one because Salah could be back. I think Egypt got through to the last 16, so Salah's not going to be back now until Game Week 24 at the earliest, we think. But that week has so many good options that if you don't go back in for Salah straight away, you can look at a whole cast of people. And I think that's what's interesting because otherwise it would be, well, I'm going to get Salah back at all costs. But home to Leicester has a good fixture. But look at the players you can look at elsewhere. So you could hold off until 25, but then it's Salah at Burnley, Salah at Norwich, and you want that, right? So we've said this in previous weeks. Whatever we're doing now in the next 1 or 2 game weeks, it's got to be with Salah in mind.
I'd be surprised if I had Salah for 24,
right?
Given that Fernandes is my kind of make weight, but he's got Burnley,
yeah,
and I'm going to use a transfer this week, and I can't get Salah for free. I haven't got enough money to do Fernandes straight to Salah, so it's got to be with another transfer. So it makes more sense for me to use a transfer this week, get the Villa player in, and then hopefully save if I can in any way, and then get him for free.
Would you captain Fernandes then? Or Ronaldo? Would you go Ronaldo home to Burnley? Away to Burnley.
Probably Ronaldo. But I think there's loads of good options. I think, Foden and Cancelo against Brentford's good. You've got Bowen against Watford at home. That looks a great fixture as well. Yeah,
I mean, I've got to say, looking at this, we look for these opportunities, don't we, to go for differential captains. And this week is one, as we'll see in a minute. 24 is one as well, because I think there will be a move towards Salah, of course. But not everyone will go there, and the differentials are really appealing. So I may not move straight to him, because obviously there could be some fatigue after the travel and the tournament and so on. Depends how deep Egypt go. So something to bear in mind there. But obviously, when we get to 25.
He's going to murder them, isn't he?
Well, Leicester.
Yeah, they just know it.
Could do. I mean, Leicester have always done well at Anfield. They've always put up a fight. They've lost the games, but always given them a good game. But it's just, yeah, you've got to think that the way Leicester are defending, there's something in there for the Liverpool attack and Salah. Yeah. Okay, well, keep that in mind. But of course, all this planning ahead is all, futile when the double game weeks could drop in and the blanks dropping in as well. Let's look at this game week in a bit more depth then. This is the captain conversation. So we've got Jota at the top. He was my default, my primary captain candidate. Obviously, when you look at minutes per XGI non-penalty, 108.2, he'd be the option to go with if you're going purely on data. You think, well, I mean, I'm backing a Liverpool win 2-0. You've gone 3-1. Is Jota a simple case of the go-to?
I haven't really considered him, to be honest. I'm more looking at the Foden and I've got it on Ronaldo at the moment, but I don't think I will go for it. Not given what I've seen again today. I think it's more likely for me to go for Foden or Watkins if it's got a double. I don't really know why. I just don't really trust Jota.
He missed chances again, didn't he, at the weekend? I mean, that's what. Yeah. They won the game 3-0, and Jota got nothing from it. But having watched the game, he did have the chances. He hit the woodwork. He had a one-on-one which he could have converted. I think he was a bit unfortunate. The thing for me is he's still getting the chances. Minutes per shot 25.2, and the XGI is high. So you've got to think that he will get a chance or two at Palace, which makes me lean towards him slightly.
I think I'd rather go for Trent.
Would you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Martinelli's probably... If the Arsenal game's on, then I think I am genuinely going to go for Martinelli. Really? Just because I want to tap into that Burnley match. But yeah, out of Jota and Trent, I think I'd probably go for Trent. Just for that reliability. Like, just every week it just seems Trent is just picking up, points. And he's on track to beat his best ever assist record as well. And I think that's going to start factoring into his mind as well. He's going to want to get that record.
Looking at the opponent's data, the Newcastle defence is the one that leaps out both over the season and the last 4 matches. And of course, it's Rafinha who has Newcastle. If you had Rafinha, would you think about that?
Yeah. Like I said, I think there's loads of options. I don't think there's going to be... I think there probably... I'll take that back. I think there will be a few kind of standout picks this week. It's just trying to work out which one it's going to be, and none massively stand out to me. There isn't apart like I said, apart from De Bruyne. If I had De Bruyne, he would 100% be my captain. Without him, there's about different players that I think you can make a case for. I like the Rafinha pick. There's scoring goals again, and Newcastle being as bad as they are.
Yeah, I mean, I've even looked at Dennis as well, home to Norwich, because you think that.
Yeah, exactly. Dennis and King. Yeah. I mean, it's fixtures, isn't it? There's teams with good fixtures. It's just a lot of them you don't have that reliability with, but you're trying to hit that one big kind of haul. One
player who is reliable, and he's at the bottom there, is Cancelo at Southampton. Away from home, he's been, he's been bringing in the double-figure returns. You've got to think that's a clean sheet for City, the way they defend. So that's an option too, right?
Some people hate it when we talk about floors and ceilings, but I think you've got a good floor with Cancelo of 6 points. I just can't see Southampton scoring in that match. So yeah, in terms of that, it's always good. It's just, do we need to start putting him in the same bracket as Trent? Because I still don't. I still see him as like a good option, but Trent is someone who I always expect double digits from, whereas Cancelo I don't, even though he is almost matching him in terms of that.
I think when you look at this data, like Trent is minutes per XGI non-penalty 170.1. That's up there with the best midfielders and better than some. It's better than De Bruyne and Rafinha in this table. Cancelo down on 308.4, right? So he doesn't compare for that. But obviously it's the clean sheet, right? You can always book it in.
Yeah, but eight assists to Trent's 10.
Yeah, it's good.
That's like Robertson, Trent numbers, isn't it? But we still have the Liverpool fullbacks as being on like a different tier, but Cancelo is definitely approaching that.
Yeah, I know. I see it, and we talked about Southampton's problems down the right side as well. Obviously, Cancelo down the left could be a factor, right? So
yeah, very true.
There's something in that. I've moved the captaincy about. Let's look at our teams now, but we'll get to yours first of all. You've currently got it on Ronaldo. But you're going to move this, obviously. Martinelli's most likely to get it, you think, if that fixture is on, or is it going to be Foden?
Yeah, there's no way I'm captaining Ronaldo now after this. After what I've seen,
It's not what I've said, surely. But...
It will either be Martinelli, Foden, or Trent.
Right.
If we get some rare, if Pep comes out in the press conference and says Foden's been fantastic lately, he's definitely going to start against Southampton.
That'd give you the fight. Yeah.
then I would, but we probably won't get that. So it'll probably be Martinelli. If the Arsenal game's off for whatever reason and we don't get the news about Foden, then I think I'll go for Trent as my third pick. But my transfer is I think a really easy one, which is Pinnock to Dean. Got enough money in the bank.
Oh, Pinnock's gone. I can't poke fun at you.
He's 3-2s. No.
Brentford are
2 1s and a 2.
Brentford are going to keep a clean sheet against Wolves then, and then Villa will concede at Everton.
You just know it, don't you? Actually, I think he's had 3 1s. He wasn't a good pick.
So your team for the podcast will be then, if that transfer is made,
it'll be Ronan and Livramento, who hopefully I won't need.
So with De Gea, would you just go a 4.0 keeper? Would you go back to Foster, I guess, right?
Yeah, but I think I'd actually keep De Gea and lose Ramsdale.
Whoa, would you?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'd have to. Would I have to? No.
De Gea's 5'2", isn't he? And Ramsdale's 5'1".
The trouble is,
you lose money on Ramsdale, wouldn't you?
So Ramsdale, if I get Salah back in 25, Ramsdale hasn't got a game.
Yep.
He's got a blank, and then he's got Brentford, and then another blank.
Oh yeah, so you can't sell De Gea then, can you?
So it's 2 blanks. So I can't sell De Gea when he's got 2 blanks. And meanwhile, at that time, De Gea's got Southampton and Leeds. So it's
tricky.
It's probably going to be De Gea that stays.
What you want to do is get a nice little Crystal Palace keeper called Gaito who's not going to turn up.
Maybe I'll get Butland and really rub it in.
Right, so what have I got? Oh dear, it's okay. I don't like this team because I've got some players in here. You've got your Pinnocks, your Livramentos, and your Johnsons, right? All players you can forgive for being low scoring. I've got the likes of Alonso, Mount, and Ronaldo that I want out, and they're big names. I've got big names in my dressing room that I want out. At the moment,
too many egos.
I know, exactly. It's what it is. There's only one ego around here, and that's mine. They can't have one as well. It's ridiculous. Ramsdale, Trent, Alonso, Cancelo at the moment. Mount, Martinelli, Bowen, Jota, who's got the armband right now. Ronaldo, Antonio, and Dennis, who's the vice. What would I do with this? I could not make a move at all because it's okay. You never know. Alonso and Mount might do something against Spurs. I ought to keep Mount, really, because I got him in with the proviso that he was a player that would be quite handy to have in game week 23. So I should keep him, really, 24 rather. But it is tempting just to make the move to go Gundogan to Foden and then play Foden. And then it's, would I play Mount or Antonio? That's a difficult one. Who would you play over Mount and Antonio?
I don't know. I don't think there's much in it between them. I'd probably, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Tricky.
Surely you've got to get rid of Alonso.
Yeah, well, that has crossed my mind as, it's funny.
He's got to be, looking at your team, he's got to be your main priority to get rid of.
The move I always had in mind for this week, I was going to spend 4, it was going to be Alonso. Believe it or not, I was going to go Tierney because I wanted to set up the Tierney-Reguilon swap. And, like you're talking about, if the Arsenal fixture is on, I think Tierney could be really good. I think
that's a great move. That pays off straight away.
Yeah, so I was thinking Alonso to Tierney, and then I was going to, I was planning 2 moves. I was going to go that and then Gundogan to Foden as well. But then that's before I got Mount in and the double game week happened. So it might be Alonso to Tierney that I do. That's on the cards as well. And I've looked ahead to when Arsenal got the blanks, and Trent, Cancelo and Reguilon have got good fixtures in 25, and by 27 I've got other things I would have done. So I quite like that move. I like Tierney. I haven't owned him yet, and whenever I see Arsenal play, he always impresses me. The only thing I'm worried about is Tavares playing in the double game week. Would Tierney get both games because of his fitness and an injury record? So would I be getting a player in that is never going to get me a double game week because Tavares is there as well? So don't know. There's that playing on my mind, because if you want to get a player in at this point, you want to know that if a double game week lands, that player is going to play both fixtures. So that's playing on my mind a little bit with Tierney. But we'll see.
Thought you'd be wanting some cash.
Matt Cash, you mean? No.
Oh yeah, and him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, Dino, I love as a player. Right? I always had him at Everton many times, and so I'm really sympathetic to you going Dino. That's not out of the question either, particularly if the double game week drops in. So if I've got to get rid of Alonso, and I can't really say it's with heavy heart that he would leave, Dina would probably be more sensible than going to.
Would you get Watkins if the double game week hit as well?
I think so. I think I'd
for Antonio.
Yeah, probably.
I guess That's I think you have to.
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, given the run that Villa have got after the double as well, it's not just for the double, is it? It's for the runs after that.
Yeah.
And the data you showed that he is the attacking asset to own in that Villa side while Coutinho's settling in. So. Yeah, I probably would do. So it's all going to depend on what we hear of the double game week, really. It's going to affect both our plans. Will you get Dina anyway? Would you move to him? Would you?
But it's Pinnock up, isn't it? So
you are totally copying Late Rise at the moment. I watched The Wire earlier, and he's doing exactly the same as you. And he answered exactly the same as you then. He got asked, would you get Dina without the double? He went, yeah, absolutely. And
surely he didn't have Pinnock.
No, Late Rise would never have Pinnock.
He probably would. He's kind of a maverick, defender of double game week.
I suppose so. Yeah, true.
Yeah. I could afford Antonio to Watkins and Pinnock to Dean. So,
I mean, with a double game week, I guess also it's more palatable to take the hit as well because you're getting some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's key, right? It's going to be key to everybody. Don't make your transfers until we hear on this because there's no doubt if Villa do get that extra fixture, and if it's Leeds, Rafina comes into the equation as well, right? It could be. That he's a very popular option.
True, very true. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the Blackbox Leagues. These aren't up to date because we didn't update it with the 2 games tonight. But Oscar, who was top of our league, he had De Gea captain, and at one point he was looking set, wasn't he, for a 30-odd point return, and then Tony broke his heart a bit with that. He was top before tonight. I think he will still be top on 15.43 ahead of Steve Sedman, James S in third. Tor Evan Pedersen in fourth, and then it's Ruben Jeva in fifth before tonight's games. We'll see how that is shaking it up. Before tonight's games, we were fourth in the World Leagues. So, yeah, well done.
Oscar's down to 19th.
Is he? Is he in the chat?
In the world now.
Okay, just had a look.
He was earlier, but yeah, I had a look.
Keep going, Oscar. Roll with it. You can bring it back. You'd be surprised.
He's only 20 points off first.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. That's not a gap at all. So still plenty to play for Oscar, who we're right behind for the FPL crown. The Apprentices, is Natalie above me yet? Probably is after tonight. She's probably got Bruno, right? Has she got Bruno?
Surely not.
I don't know.
I don't think so. Let me have a quick check. No, she hasn't got Bruno.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, I'm fine there. It's the international break coming up, and you could be absent as well for before the next game week, so we might not have a show while you're away.
I should be okay. I might not have such high quality production values.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay.
But I'll be around.
Obviously, that's going to make me slightly anxious and nauseous. The fact that your sound.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we will have a show with you from overseas, I believe. But over the international, I'm going to get in touch with Henry and see how he's doing because I haven't done so, and I want to get him Scout membership. I want to get him on Twitter.
Yep, that's what we said.
See if we can turn him around second half of the season. See if it makes a difference. I mean, as I said, the experiment is a bit skewed by what's happened this season. We can't really prove too much given how strange it's been, but it'll be interesting to catch up with him and see what he's made of it so far.
100 points behind that.
He's used a lot of chips, hasn't he, as well? So he's going into this part of the season having used his chips. And I think that's interesting that I want to ask him why he used his chips in the early part of the season. And of course, he's not to know that the second half of the season, when the double game weeks and blanks come in, is when you perhaps should use them. So I think
he's used all his chips except for his second wild card.
Yeah. So this is it. This is what the Premier League need to get right. It's all very well giving new FPL players these chips to help them, but unless they actually inform them how they're best used, and I don't think they really do that until the time comes. Like round about now, they'll be doing lots of articles about playing your chips and the free hits around the blanks. But they need to do something at the start of the season to say, by the way, these chips we're giving you, don't spend them for another 18, 19 game week.
I say every year, first half of the season chips, second half of the season chips.
That's what we need.
I say every year.
Henry's proven it because new players want to use them to get themselves back in the game and to keep their interest. But then when it gets to the second half, they go, oh, what am I going to do? Oh, everyone's playing their free hit.
I think, the chips are... we shouldn't have another chip debate all night.
Well, no.
I think that the chips are there to add excitement to the game, right? And to also to at least make people think they can make up some ground.
Yeah.
But they can't, because if you bug them up and use them at the start of the season, then you're even further behind.
Yeah.
So I know people who have been like, I didn't know what I was doing, so I used my chips. There's no point even playing anymore because I'm already at a massive disadvantage. It's like...
And Natalie hasn't used hers, presumably because she's picked up on the vibe on Twitter, right? And for all what, Twitter can mislead you, misinform you, you can be accused of being a sheep or whatever. It has been useful to her. I reckon, when we catch up with her, it's been really useful for that, because it gives you those how-to guidelines that you just don't get elsewhere. And it is hard.
She's 250,000 in the world.
Yeah.
That is
fantastic
brilliant.
for first
That's
season.
absolutely brilliant first season.
We said top million, didn't we? If you get top million, that's brilliant. And
given finish in the top million.
And given it's been such a strange season as well, I mean, it's great. I mean, I just want to turn Henry round and have him looking forward to next season, because we're going to follow these guys, season by season, hopefully, if they keep playing. So it's just going to be interesting talking about the chips and what, why he played them and how he's going to play.
Well, Henry is in the top million.
Yeah. Which is not bad, is it?
If he can just keep it steady, then he's on for an okay season as well.
Dare I say, if we give him Scout membership and he gets on Twitter, that should all he needs to have a really good second half of the season. If our theory is correct. Right, we'll see. Okay, Green Arrow charity. They've been in touch with you this week, right?
They have. They've sent me a lovely little parcel just to say thanks for... I haven't sent you anything.
Well, no, because just to explain, we donate money with every Green Arrow, so they're thanking you for the money you've donated and me for the £4.50 that I've given them so far. So
it was really nice. Big thanks for FPL Greece. I got a lovely mug with Martinelli on it, which I haven't got with me.
Have you really? Is that playing on your mind for the captaincy? Is it?
I think it probably is. It probably is. Yeah. But yeah, they're great guys, and obviously the FPL challenge is there to feed starving people. So it's a great cause. We donate a £5 for every Green Arrow that we get, and it's been over 1,000 meals now, not just from us obviously, but from other people who've got involved in this cause and donating. So if you are interested in donating, there's links in the description, and let's try and get that to 2,000.
That is fantastic. 1,071 meals donated. Right? Yeah, it is really, really good. And I must try to get more Green Arrows so I can give more money to this. I must, right? That's my motivation.
you can donate without getting Green Arrow if you wanted to.
I know, but I'd rather kind of link it to good game weeks. I know. Right, I will. Yeah.
Maybe we should flip it for you.
Red
arrows for you. You'll probably start doing well then. Prove it was all about the money.
Don't. Yeah. How dare you? Right, do you want to do the likes and smashes or whatever we call it? I've forgotten now. I've lost it.
Yeah, me too. I've lost it. We're both so tired as well. Thanks everyone for watching. 1,300 people watching live. If you could all like the video before you go, that'd be amazing. We're obviously going to be stopping for a little bit because there's a big gap, and hopefully we'll be back in a couple of weeks. But we, as always, really appreciate all your support. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, and just to explain, normally at the end of the credits, those who stay to the end of the show, there's normally a little message from me, a little Easter egg that I put in there. And a couple of weeks ago, I just didn't have time to do one, so I put I don't have time this week, something I had to give, blah, blah, blah. Last week I did one, but I played the wrong one and played the old one. This week I said to Az, oh no, I didn't have time to do the credits again. I've got to play the same one again. So for the third week running, I'm playing the same rubbish Easter egg at the end. Apologies in advance. I will get my act together. I'm very busy at work. Honestly, my performance will improve, at least in terms of the credit message anay, if not an FPL.
You got a nice break. Put yourself into a nice spa, de-stress.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
That's what I need. Are you gonna throw some cash over for me to do a spa weekend? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If anyone wants to donate to Mark's spa weekend,
don't, because there probably is someone out there who will do that. No, I'm only joking. I do not need your donations. Please do not put me down for that. I do need a spa weekend though. I need to shave this beard off as well. They're not gonna let me in like a hobo. It's a good night for me.
Good night, everyone.